I don't.
I'd welcome any sort of
issue with having a farmer's tan in my life. It's not.
I should have spray tanned though before I sat down next to you. Although I just sat in that hot sauna room, so now my cheeks are all red.
Yeah. At least you're sweating like you just got out of a tanning booth. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 57 of The Real Word. The word is up.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so pumped to be back, actually.
I don't think you are, but that's okay.
Got the proper miking, the proper lighting.
Ooh, your lighting was below par.
I don't look like a...
You were under that orange umbrella.
Tangerine?
No,
maybe?
you almost like Donald Trump.
That was the umbrella. And as you can see, I haven't been spending much time tanning, so...
You are, though. You're tan. We were mentioning that. Yeah,
All
you have a nice... I have nothing. I had to rub my cheeks really hard to get red cheeks, so...
It's been a big week in real estate.
Big week. It's been a very interesting week. No, I agree.
I mean...
A lot of shifts, a lot of changes, a lot of people coming, new people coming in, people going out. It's been interesting.
Gary Keller coming back.
Yeah.
We're not going to really cover that, but I guess it's worth noting that Gary Keller is back as
all
CEO.
the Keller Williams agents seem to be really excited. I have yet to read his book.
It tells, you know what it does tell me for sure, Gary Keller coming back as CEO in over 2 decades, is that the fight they have with EXP is for real. EXP's really grabbing some of their agents, and I think it's worth a fight worth watching. See who wins.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna win. Someone
always wins.
But we've got 3 rackets. If you're new to the show, here on The Real Word, we always pick 3 topics that are our racket topics, and we go through the 3 of them, and we both decide if they're a racket or not. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we don't.
I feel like the racket's further on your side this round. Is it in the middle there, Suave? Looks like it's favoring Byron today.
I think it's the way you're sitting. All right, racket number 1. Who is the next generation of wealth that real estate agents should be paying attention to?
I love this article. I enjoyed reading this one aloud to you.
And I've never heard of Henry's.
I haven't either. So they're called the Henrys. They're called high earners, not rich yet. Not rich yet. Thank you.
High earners, not rich yet.
I love it.
They describe this niche do you go niche or niche? What do you guys do?
I think it depends.
Niche?
It depends. I like niche.
Niche,
but it is sort of a
subset
niche, right?
of the population that represents the next generation of wealth. Today, Henrys are comprised largely of millennials and some of the youngest members of Gen X, because it basically comes down to your annual household income of more than $100,000.
That seems low. Doesn't that seem low?
They're saying that these top earners are well on their way to becoming tomorrow's affluent consumer, and real estate professionals are best suited to start paying attention to this influential demographic now. This is a racket. 80% of it is a racket. If you can follow there. I think that if you're a real estate agent right now, you should be paying attention to the demographic that has all of the wealth in this country, and that's baby boomers. They hold it all. So 80% of your time should be spent catering to the baby boomers, and 20% of your time should be figuring out, how do I speak to this demographic, long-term planning? But the wealth is being held by the baby boomers. That's who owns real estate. That who has the money.
Well, I think though that I think I'm hearing you. I think yes.
And they're not dying tomorrow.
Yeah. So I agree. I agree that the heading is a racket, but I don't feel like the article is a racket, because I'm certain you're finding it too, whether they are baby boomers or Gen Xers or millennials. I feel like our entire world is turning more into experience-based, and I feel like that's primarily what they're telling agents to sort of be a little bit more mindful of is the experience, like in a home. Like like in there, I was talking about like money. Like it's not really necessarily about a house being worth $2 million. It's about like what are the amenities? What is it near? So I mean, I think that's true. I think that's true for men. I mean, we have properties that it's about the amenities. It's about the location.
And we've talked a lot about on this show that baby boomers and millennials kind of want the same things. They both want easy living. Like millennials do not want to go and do the same thing that the baby boomers did, which is cut every blade of grass, which is caulk every window and do all this horse shit. They want to have a simple life and have someone else maintaining.
Somebody else maintaining. Yeah, you have to maintain your home.
Have to maintain.
Yes.
But they don't want to necessarily do all that work.
No,
So both of them, and baby boomers, it took them just, 30 years to figure it out that they don't want to do this anymore.
Well, but they can afford. The difference
estate.
there is that the baby boomers can actually afford to live that lifestyle, and
you do have a lot of
millennials are still
millennials
living at home because the parents can pay to do those fun little things. That's why they're never leaving, because they don't want to do the thing.
Out of this demographic, the Henrys.
I just like the name.
There's you just like that?
I just do. It's just I like what are they called?
Acronyms?
Yes, thank you.
Out of the Henrys, 97% of them either currently own or are planning to buy, and a large percentage of those are even thinking about a second home even. So that's interesting. I think on the buy side, you definitely want to really tap into what Henrys, millennials, Gen, whatever it is, X are doing.
I think I'm a Gen X.
Yeah, because they're going to start to buy a lot of these properties, take on debt, right, and buy a lot of these properties. But I got to tell you, if you're paying attention in your marketplace to what the baby boomers are doing. Maybe they're leaving your marketplace. Maybe they're downsizing in your marketplace. Maybe they're going south, whatever it is. They've got all the money right now. Yeah. And they're not just going to hand it over to millennials. It's going to take time. They're going to hold on to this money until the day they die. And a lot of them are going to live a lot longer than any of us even imagined. So baby boomers, to me, are who I want to pay the most attention to and give the most love and care to.
Absolutely. I do think that the one other thing on there that they do mention is just the whole building of a brand. And I think that that's important across the board. I mean, I know like my mom's a baby boomer. She's on Instagram. She's on Facebook. I don't think she's necessarily making decisions based on like, hey, my daughter's an influencer. But I mean, people do say to her, hey, like I saw your daughter on, so whether they're hiring me or not, I don't know. But at least you're making a name for yourself.
I get more business from millennials through relationships, I got to tell you. So, a great way to feel good about yourself and get likes or get more Instagram followers.
You love likes. Likes you live for likes.
I want you guys to thumb down this video if it's an option. Thumb it down. Because likes don't mean anything. And so if you want to spend your time on that, cool. But I know that the majority of millennials, trust is a huge deal. Huge. Right? Yes. And so a lot of them are going off of referral.
Right. Well, and are they right? Well, I think what's very interesting about millennials is that even though they weren't necessarily buying and selling during like the recession of 2008, they were alive for it. And
the back end of them, yeah.
Yeah.
The super young ones
were
alive but not paying attention.
Well, I guess the ones that are sort of entering the buying pool now were alive for it. And they are very conscientious of making right moves. So yeah, it's trust, but it's also I agree.
Having the information, understanding why.
being the knowledgeable resource. Yeah. I mean, the amount of times that people have brought me in just to say like, does a bathroom cost this, or should I do a bathroom? Because they're really counting on you. Or do you have a contact for me to do a bathroom? I mean, I would say 99% of the people are doing that. So, which is, again, I mean, it's about trust and building, rapport.
And if you're working with a lot of buyers, you 100%, we link up all the articles. Read this article. Yeah. It was well done. It's an Inman article. I'd be paying attention to that. Segueing nicely into racket number 2.
Yep.
How to get a disagreeable buyer couple on the same page. You could have disagreeable buyer couples that are millennials or baby boomers or anything, right?
Yeah, all the time.
So, Nicole, what would be one tip you would give maybe a new agent out there, how to work with a couple that you're sensing is disagreeing on everything, right? Like he wants the man cave. She says man cave doesn't mean anything. We need a pool. He says a pool's a lot of work. I'd have to cover it. I'd have to fill it. I'd have to clean it. How do you, like if it's that kind of disagreements on the on the home. How do you overcome that?
Oh boy. So I listen. Like, that's the most important, is like listening. I need to hear exactly what the wife is saying, and I need to hear exactly.
And forget everything what he's saying?
No. And I need to hear exactly what the husband is saying.
Why are you going wife and husband?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It is sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm listening to both sides of the story.
Partner and partner, partner
I'm
A,
listening
partner
to
B.
both partners, or maybe it's girlfriends, maybe boyfriends, maybe they're not even married. But I think listening is the biggest and the most important for me to overcome. Because at that point, I can't necessarily get that. I'm not a therapist, but I'll certainly take them to properties that fulfill as many needs on both sides as possible, but hopefully find options within the house that if it's not there, it can be added. So say the wife loves house.
Selling the dream.
You have to sell the dream.
Sell the dream.
So, hey, but look, there's an ability to add a pool here if down the road, you do decide that a pool is important, or if somebody wants a man cave, I can at least get a house that maybe doesn't have a finished basement, but look, like you have the ability here to finish the basement. So, if I'm able to at least sort of, again, you have to listen, because when things come up that work in the future to fulfill both, like that's then a really great fit.
And probably circling, there's going to be certain things that they agree on. If they don't agree on 100% of things, then they shouldn't be buying a house together. But they probably agree on the fact that they need 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. So if you keep pointing them back towards that, hey, this one has the 4 bed, the 2.5 bath, and both of you guys can get your needs down the road, I think that's a good approach.
Well, I think you also need to very much, though, show them enough properties, because like if they want like 2 acres of land, but you just can't get 2 acres of land at that price point, like you have to keep showing them homes in that price point for them to then realize, well, where they eventually come to the terms, whomever it may be, that like this is just unfortunately what you can afford to do, and then they become a little bit more comfortable with the decision.
This is an Inman article. Jackson Cooper wrote the article, and we'll link this up. And I like what's here. Give them the hard facts. This is one of the reasons that most buyers probably don't want to work with me, is I'll give you the hard facts 100% of the time. But when you're dealing with you've dealt with couples, and I have too, that you're like, man, they're going to get divorced like 3 months after this purchase.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
Like they're buying this house to put a Band-Aid on their personal issues because they think this will fix everything. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And so when it says give them the hard facts, you got to give them the hard facts, right? But you as an agent, if you start to sense that, you really need to make sure that you're not just, sometimes, one person will take the lead in that couple. You need to make sure you're having the conversation with both of them.
Oh, 100%.
Because there are manipulators in every relationship, not in every, but in some of them. And
I do think, though, that it's really important that you also, though, although giving them the hard facts, I think that some agents, though, also feel like their job is to almost like talk their buyer out of buying properties just to show their value too, where like you need to sort of like tread lightly on that too. Like if they really love it and it's like positive and like
agree with you.
And you don't have to be like, this is, obviously give them, hey, you know what, like if you're looking to move in 2 years, this may be a little bit more difficult, but if you're okay with that.
I know some agents that'll try to talk everybody out of buying because to your point, they think that
that's the value.
Yeah.
No, you're guiding them, you're assisting them, you're giving them the tools, you're giving them the things that they need to make educated decisions.
And if you're a knowledgeable agent, it's not your job. They will go to another agent who's less qualified just to get the deal done.
Right.
So you didn't do them a favor because you hurt them, because now they're talking to an agent that doesn't have as much knowledge as you, and you didn't get the deal.
Right.
So if they're coming to you to buy a house, and you've confirmed that they want and are qualified to buy a house, it is time to get them a house,
right? Not
to talk them out of it.
Absolutely. And again, so like hard facts, I think that's not necessarily like, hey, listen, like it's super wet in the backyard.
No. And this is, the hard facts are, hey guys, you can't afford a house with a pool and 4 bedrooms.
Right.
You can afford a house with a, what are they called? Above ground pool, which I consider those to be a negative on your property when it's an above ground. That's a negative.
Yeah.
That you should take money off for having an above ground pool. So you can afford one of those in a 3-bedroom, but if you want the 4-bedroom, right, because the shelter part is the most important, you can't get the in-ground pool.
Right, but again, hey, the property facilitates an in-ground pool, so save your pennies, and in 5 years, when you're,
get a second job.
Right, well, if that's that important to you, yes. But I do think that it's important, though, to not talk. I also think that it's important to not, hey, other buyer, I don't know. You just have to be careful. Like, you don't want to be the middle. You don't have to be and I've been in some situations too where I have investors, and and I've given my opinion, and then one of the investors agreed with me, and then the other one said, well, I guess it's 2 versus 1. And I was like, nope. Like, I don't get a vote.
I'm not buying the property.
I'm not selling the property. I'm not a vote. I'm just providing you with information, and the two of you get to vote. Like, I'm not a voter. Like, I'm not. Yeah.
So definitely not a racket in the sense that you should be asking the questions, and to your overall point, listening.
You have
that's
to
where
listen.
You're gonna get the information.
Oh, of course.
All right, racket number 3. Is the government shutdown impacting real estate? Are you feeling it, or is that a racket?
I am personally, at this moment, sitting here on this chair, and feeling it.
This is January the 14th, 2019. This is the longest federal government
on Friday.
Shutdown.
I think it was their 3rd check on Friday.
Ever.
Yes. Ooh. Well, you were talking about you've been going through the airport because you don't like to be here in Connecticut.
I've been a couple
times.
times.
They're really sort of friendly over there at TSA.
They've been extreme.
They're not getting paid.
I've seen so many people go up to the TSA agents over the last couple of weeks, and we're talking like 4 flights or something like that. So it's not a huge amount.
No. Over the last 3 weeks, no big deal. People do that all the time. 4 flights.
Sample size is the point. This is a little small experiment. A lot of people going up to the TSA agents, thanking them. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. And they are, in my opinion, providing more energy, more smiles than they ever have before, and they're not getting paid. So that's interesting. That's a small little nugget.
So sitting here, no, I am not. I have talked to a few mortgage individuals, though, and it sounds like they're.
You said you were talking to Faye.
I was talking to Faye. Well, because a local news affiliate wanted to do a story on it, and he was actually
Nicole talking about her Fox 61 show.
I wasn't dropping
locally here.
So he wanted to do a show. He was actually questioning about FEMA, because FEMA is not issuing flood policies, which that doesn't really. I mean, we're in a waterfront market, but there's so many other alternatives that are cheaper than FEMA flood policies. So I was like, that's not really that great of a story.
And we didn't
in my
dig.
mind.
To be clear, we didn't dig with insurance people.
I didn't dig. I didn't dig insurance. This was coming from a news guy. This was a news guy, right? Guy. And then I did talk to the mortgage guy. He was concerned potentially about the future. It was mostly he was worried about self-employed buyers. That he would need to confirm IRS statements. And because it is at a partial shutdown, it sounds like there's just not as many individuals in that department to be confirming pay stub or pay your income. So again, it sounded like if things moved along quicker, if that property was closing in maybe a month, and it just, there are some. And
this is a Realtor Mag article that we will link up.
You found it. Look at you.
Well, I think we found it together.
Stealing my thunder.
Yeah. 75% of realtors, like Nicole and I, are reporting that they haven't seen an impact personally. And so 25% of them are. But here's what they're saying, not us. What they are saying in the article is proceeding normally. Applications for conventional home mortgage financing backed by Fannie and Freddie. Applications for federally backed FHA and VA home mortgage loans. So between all of that, that's like the bulk of your new, first-time home buyers.
Right.
IRS processing of income verification requests. So,
which is Faye was saying,
which is the opposite of what Faye was saying.
No. He was saying if you were self-employed.
Self-employed. Okay.
So that may be if you. He was saying self-employed.
Yep. And then the issuance of federal flood insurance.
Interesting.
And so that's
all normal. Those are those are the only two things that I really have popped up on my radar.
But this is what they're saying is proceeding normally at this time. What's facing delays? applications for federally backed rural housing service loans. That's a small part of the market.
Yeah.
Applications for federally backed reverse mortgage loans,
Probably
known
a good
as
idea anyway.
home equity. Look at this. This shutdown seems like it's a great thing. Look at that. Yeah, you don't want a reverse loan in a lot of situations.
Yeah.
Applications for specialty FHA mortgage loans, including loans under the Native American and Native Hawaiian home loan programs. So what is and it doesn't mean that flood or IRS isn't going to be impacted if this thing goes 2 months, 3 months, right? Things can change. But right now, these are kind of small little
Well,
niche
you know
things.
what's going to play the largest role, though, if this continues, in all honesty, are all of those individuals that have mortgages that they cannot pay because they're not being paid.
Yeah. And
I
I
mean,
think
that's a larger concern in my mind.
if you do read about this shutdown, the whole thing's a racket, right? Like this is the biggest racket of all time.
Of course.
What I think is not a racket, and what I guess this is an economist. Let's see who this was. NAR chief economist Lawrence Yun says this is fundamentally.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that. It was the first word I messed up, Ness, when I was reading here.
It was okay, though.
This is fundamentally an issue of confidence. And I agree with that. The longer this shutdown, even if people don't understand it or if it's not impacting them whatsoever, the confidence level, the longer this goes, the more negative media people consume, their confidence will go down.
Yeah.
And that will slow down buyers and that will hurt the market.
Yeah, it is always that. Well, but what's lovely, have you seen the interest rates?
Interest rates are good right now.
They're so good.
Interest rates
Jump
are good.
on that.
Call Nicole White.
Holy moly. Get on it.
All right, real peeps. This is a good show.
I'm curious
Glad
though
to be
if maybe if we're not experiencing it, maybe some of our followers are experiencing something.
If
I'd
you're
love
in
some
that-
feedback on what you're experiencing in your markets, and maybe it's one of the list things that they're saying is not.
Yeah, if you're in that 25%, drop us a comment.
Please, we'd love to hear it.
Comment anything you'd like us to talk about here in the early goings of 2019.
Early goings.
Throw us a thumbs down, if you will. Subscribe, or don't.
You can't give a thumbs down though. Like
On YouTube, you can.
yeah.
No, throw us some thumbs up. Throw some love. Keep it real out there, too.
Bye guys.
See ya.